We're back.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sports Med Bros podcast. As always, my name is Aaron Borgman. I am your host. It is January 10th, 2026. This is our first episode of the new year. I am welcomed,
Yeah,
as always, by my co host, Evan Kraft, live from Greenwood, Indiana. Ev, how are you doing?
we are doing fantastic. It is a beautiful day here in Hoosier
Why are
land
you doing fantastic?
as the Hoosiers are headed to the national championship in football. I've got my Signetti shirt on. Shout out to Coach Sig. So it's a
In
great day in this
in your
household.
wildest dreams in all of your 2 years of being an Indianapolis or Indiana Hoosiers fan, could you have pictured this?
No, I could not have. Not at
I
all.
mean,
It's
your
uh, it's pretty
fandom goes
impressive.
way back.
It goes way back. It goes way back to 2024.
Man,
So,
you
you
were there
know,
at the beginning. You can say that.
I was there. I was there at the beginning. Yeah, I've been a fan since Signetti got there. So I'm all in on it.
We originally, first of all, for the listeners, we're a little all over the place. Our schedules have been ridiculous. There's been kids situations, there have been scheduling situations, there's been football game situations. So we do
Yep.
apologize. It's been almost 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks since we recorded an episode due to the holidays. So we are back, but just so everybody knows that we are recording this, like I said, on the 10th. It is Saturday, the 10th. The Indiana Hoosiers just absolutely decimated their
The
opponent
Ducks.
last night from
Yep.
Oregon.
Yep.
It was pretty impressive. We had originally intended to record this episode midweek. It didn't work out, but we are here actually with a big announcement for the listeners, Ev. Um, Guess what? It was inevitable. We had to start a YouTube channel,
We
and
did.
I
Yes.
did that this week, and we've got it up and going. We're hopefully to get this video uploaded for those that choose to be a YouTube watcher or to have it on in your office or your athletic training room or your clinic while you might be doing things. There's an option for that now. We have to start like dressing appropriately and
Yeah. Yeah.
not using cups instead of clear glasses for the items we might be partaking. But we're here. We're here, everybody. This is what we got going on. So, wanted to make that announcement. Look for us on our YouTube channel of the same name, the Sports Med Bros, and we are excited to bring some more content. We're going to tease that a little bit here this morning. We've got some interesting things coming up. We've
Oh
got
yeah.
some live shows that we just scheduled this week.
Yep.
For the upcoming season, we've got all kinds of appearances that we're going to be making at different events. So, just kind of watch this space, I guess I would say, for that kind of thing.
It's
Uh,
exciting stuff.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful
It's a
thing.
beautiful thing.
Well, Ev, we are on to the NFL playoffs. Unfortunately, there were a lot of injuries the last couple of weeks over the holidays, and I thought we would just recap some of those and insert some commentary where you will. Rookie running back for the Cleveland Browns, Quinshon Judkins, unfortunately suffered a fracture dislocation of his ankle. Obviously, this is a terrible injury for anyone, but speak real briefly, if you will, on what that means for a running back, Ev.
Yeah. That's really it's pretty. I don't know. It's a tough injury just because of how dynamic those guys
Yeah,
are.
for sure.
You're talking about potentially tight ropes or some type of ligament repair,
Yeah, there's definitely
for
going to be a ligament reconstruction at some point,
or
right?
yeah, for the deltoid, I would imagine, because that's probably I didn't see it. Was it
Yeah,
externally rotated? Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to put a picture of it up for the
Yeah.
Instagram post.
Yeah. So the good news is he's got all off season to rehab. So
Yeah, from a timeline perspective, I don't think he's
it's
any jeopardy, but
yeah, yeah. It's
uh,
go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say getting that dynamic nature back, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the kid's a phenomenal athlete too,
Oof.
so I'm sure he'll be back and ready to roll by week one of next year, or by even the off-season program potentially. So,
Yeah, I think it's one of those deals where if the fracture was displaced, there might be a plate and screw
yeah,
situation that
yeah,
makes it even more stable moving forward. But really, for the position, you have to wonder about the ligamentous reconstruction
yeah,
and how quickly can that kid get his dynamic nature back, quite
yeah,
frankly.
yeah. Sucks it had to happen. Was it the last game of the season?
I believe so.
Yeah, sucks it had to happen then. You want to go in the off season as healthy as possible, right?
Sure.
Not having to have surgery so you can train and get back to doing what you were doing and stay in shape. But Unfortunately for this kid, he will be rehabbing for a majority of the offseason. So
Yep. Yep.
that's it.
Yep. John Fitzpatrick, unfortunately, a Packers tight end. Not really a whole lot to say here. He did tear his Achilles during the final week, I believe, of the season, or the second to last week.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to highlight it is it's just another, data point of when and how these players are getting injured. I don't know how many years this player has been in the league,
I
but I
don't
think
either.
he's a younger player.
Yeah.
So you begin to wonder if reps are a concern, are like we've talked about many times, are we preparing these athletes to take reps for the entire season?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
their tissues trained for that in the off season? And when you see these catastrophic injuries, catastrophic being defined as season enders, right?
Yeah.
When you see them at the end of the season, that question always kind of pops up in your brain, like, are these individuals prepared to get through the season?
Yeah.
We don't see too many traumatic, forceful Achilles ever. They're almost always non-contact and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, just a talking point, quite frankly. We've talked about Achilles repairs and rehab here a lot. We don't need to go into it on this space. I just wanted to highlight his injury. Here locally, although it didn't happen locally, Gardner Minshew,
Yeah.
unfortunately, what was originally a quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, was originally feared to have torn his ACL. I take that back. It did happen here on the second to last week of the season. But thankfully for him, it's just, and I say just, a tibial plateau fracture and not a torn ACL. A little
Yeah.
bit interesting how that diagnosis got convoluted, but glad that he didn't have a ligamentous tear because in the grand scheme of things, a tibial plateau fracture is easier to come back from, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I'm not sure if there was a surgical intervention on this one or
I don't
not.
know either yet.
Either way, you're immobilized, non-weight bearing. You got to let the bone heal. Depending on where it's at, is it medial, lateral, all that kind of plays a factor too.
Is it weight bearing surface? Is it
Is it
not?
weight? Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen a lot of these. I think I've
Hmm.
seen maybe like two
Hmm.
in the last who knows how long. So
Well,
neither of them had ligamentous involvement either.
I,
So
I'm not going to ask you to comment on the situation because you were involved somewhat in this athlete's care. I actually wrote a piece a couple of years ago for a company that I was writing for at the time regarding an athlete that was on the Kansas City Chiefs who had a tibial plateau fracture. And there's actually 6 different types of tibial plateau fractures depending upon the location and the severity. And here's
yeah,
your word for the day, how comminuted the fracture
yeah,
is.
yeah,
That means pieces of fracture for those out there that don't know what that word means.
yeah,
But again, honestly, a better outcome than a torn ACL for this
yeah,
athlete, in my
yeah,
opinion. Regardless of surgery or not, he's going to be back before he would for an ACL. So that's definitely a much better thing for him, given his job requirements to be able to be available for as a backup quarterback capacity. So
yeah.
good for him. He definitely won't miss. I don't think he'll miss time next season, but maybe if
No,
it gets a little bit weird. But I wouldn't think so.
no.
Un Unfortunately, Ev, the standout wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave, was discovered to have a blood clot in his lung. Now, listen, you and I have covered these blood clots in these professional athletes
Yeah,
that are just seemingly popping up more and more. And I think, we have talked about in the past, is it better awareness as to how to identify them?
yeah.
Is there something that is triggering these? And no, we've talked about them in football players and NBA players mostly, but what kind of, thoughts do you have on another lung blood clot showing up in a football player?
Yeah, I don't know. You sometimes you think, is it congenital? Does his family have a history of embolisms, pulmonary embolisms? Outside of that, I really don't have an answer for you, to be
I don't
honest.
either. I was just hoping you did.
Yeah, I really don't know if it's outside of it being a family history thing. I really don't know why we're seeing this. If it's, if I think we as medical staffs in the NFL, or they as medical staffs in the NFL and professional sports in general, have gotten better at detecting them.
Right. The
Um,
awareness of how to find them, right?
yeah, yeah. So, is it happening more frequently and we just aren't hearing about it? I
Mhm.
have no clue. Honestly, that's kind of perplexing to be honest.
Well, yeah, I think it's a great talking point because, we talk about it all the time with concussion awareness that just kind of exploded over the last couple of decades. Are we just getting better at finding these
Yeah,
things, or are they becoming more prevalent? And what's real? And is it a combination of both? I don't know that anyone has those answers right now, but man,
yeah,
just within the last year, like you used to never even hear about blood clots in professional
no,
athletes, and like now we've heard like four or five of them for sure.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it is crazy.
One athlete I wanted to highlight, unfortunately, Kobe Smith, a standout Duke defensive end, had a very, very gruesome leg injury. I believe he fractured his tib fib, and I wanted to highlight this. The reason being, I don't know what year of player he is. Luckily, now with how the NCAA is constructed and players staying a little bit longer. I'm assuming a draft stock is not in jeopardy, or he can come back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that kind of thing. But man, it was in a bowl game over the holidays. I was sitting in my in-laws' house and I saw this happen, and I wanted to highlight it. My wife refuses to watch injuries like this with me. She says turns away and doesn't want to see it. I
yeah,
think it's a learning experience for
absolutely.
clinicians like us who need to learn how to take care of them both acutely on the field. The UNC medical staff did a nice job with it. I think or excuse me, not UNC. Oh God, that's sacrilegious. Duke
Yeah,
medical staff
sacrilegious Duke,
did a
man.
nice job with that, taking care of him acutely. Just something to watch, and I wanted to highlight the athlete and the staff for doing so. Unfortunately, Ev, the next one has to deal with your Indianapolis Colts, a
Yeah,
situation that we harped on a couple times about DeForest Buckner, standout defensive lineman for a number of years, who was, ongoing saga with cervical disc neck issues, and tried to come back for the last game of the year, last couple games of the year, excuse me. Played, I believe, in week 16, had to then shut it down for week 17,
yeah,
only because, just couldn't do it, re-injured basically.
yeah,
And we had talked about like you take one good hit with a cervical neck issue and then it's gone, and like you're
yeah,
just you're just back to the drawing board.
yep,
And I want to give you credit because you very rightly called this out and said, you can do all the neck strengthening, shoulder strengthening,
yeah,
pain relieving stuff, and just the right angle at the right time, especially for this position, like you said. Uh, an unfortunate result. We'll be curious to see what happens to him in the offseason. What are your thoughts?
these are tough, man. These are potentially career enders
Yeah.
for football players, especially D linemen.
Mm.
Those guys are making head contacts every single play. So, I mean, you're doing that
And
50, 60 times a game. And I would imagine if he does have surgery, I don't know if they fuse or if they do a discectomy. I'm not sure, but it's not going to be the same for him in the future.
well, yeah, I mean, like even if they do a fusion and a discectomy or a disc replacement,
Yeah,
like it's not just the compression either. It's that compression and side bending or the
yeah,
compression and rotation or
rotation.
whatever
Yeah,
it might happen at his position, but that happens every single play. This isn't a wide receiver. This isn't a quarterback, right?
yeah,
Like, uh, whew, man, we wish the best for the guy, but doesn't seem like a great case outlook right now. Hopefully,
yeah,
he makes the best decision for him and his family and all that good stuff and the team. But man, you called this one. You get credit.
yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's just the prognosis for those is not good, especially in linemen,
Yeah.
honestly.
Any lineman, really, but
Any
defensive lineman
lineman.
because they're
Yeah,
leading with their head so fast.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, well, we're going to move on to in and out for the week, and real quickly, not a ton that we have to cover here this week. Do want to highlight a post by Adam Schefter on the athlete J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. He has suffered a hand injury a couple weeks ago. It was described as a contusion, and Mr. Schefter came up with a post about this athlete refusing a Toradol shot. Now, you and I both know that Toradol shots are a very common used medicinal thing
yeah.
for athletics in general, not just football. It happens to be used pretty prevalently in football. And we want to be clear here. Toradol is not an opioid. It is not
No,
chemically an opioid. It is not addictive. It is not a pain number What Toradol is an anti-inflammatory. It's super, super high-powered Advil,
Yeah.
right? It is
Yep.
systemic. They give it to you in your cheek, your bottom cheek, or your
Or
thigh,
pill form
or
too.
pill
They have,
form. That's right,
yeah.
or thigh. The reason I wanted to bring this to light is because in his post, Mr. Schefter was very clear about the fact that JJ didn't want to have any pain numbing aspect while he was playing. Well, Toradol doesn't do that. And
Yeah.
so the reason I wanted to bring this up is we continue to need more education out there about what is used and why it is used. Please go off on this for a little bit because this one is one of those things that just kind of irks me every time I hear it.
Yeah. There's a lot of, former players that have come out and said things about it. There's, you know, armchair experts that have come out and said XYZ about it. It is what you said it was. It's a highly, highly potent anti-inflammatory. It's super Advil,
Yeah.
essentially. It's not an opioid. It's not addictive. It has no addictive properties. It's super Advil, essentially. So the aspect, does it relieve pain? Yes. Does it numb pain? No, there's no numbing aspect to it. It's a pain reliever. It's an anti-inflammatory. That's the end of it.
You're not getting
And
high from it. You're
you're
not,
not getting high from it. There's no
yeah.
side effects. There's no addictive properties to it. So, the former players that have come out and said those things, it does relieve pain. It does take away those aches, those
Hmm.
nicks, all the stuff you got going on. It helps with that. It helps relieve all that. And that's why, if you ask the majority of guys that are in the NFL now if they would take a Toradol shot on game day, they would probably say, yeah. you know, 18 games in an NFL season is hell on your body. So usually those guys are going to advocate for it. Now he didn't, so
Which is
that's
his right,
fine.
by the way.
Yeah, that's his
Yeah.
right. We have we had the guys always fill out that
Hmm.
form when they were coming in if they asked for it. Like, hey, you got to fill this form out. Here's the benefits, the risks,
Hmm.
and you can either do a shot or a pill. So that's what it was. It's not there's a lot of negative aura around it,
Hmm.
but it's not that, it's not a negative thing.
Well,
So
like any pharmacological intervention, excuse me, I think Toradol is one of those things where when it's used judiciously, it's a fantastic help for these athletes, right?
yeah,
Let's say you're in a car accident and you have to go to the ER. There's a likelihood they're giving you
they're going to
some
give you two.
form of
Yeah.
Toradol
Yeah.
to help you kind of come down from the inflammation that your body just
Yeah.
suffered.
Post
Be it,
surgery too.
yep.
Post surgery,
And
they
to your
almost always give
point,
it to you.
they you can do either injectable or oral forms of Toradol.
Yeah.
And so one of my big sticking points is when people talk about getting shot up for a game, 99.8% of these are Toradol injections, not
Yeah.
pain killing or pain numbing injections. That
Yeah.
just doesn't happen anymore very often in professional sports. And when it does, it's done in very specific, very few locations like a shoulder AC
Yeah.
or, maybe a hip or something like that.
Yeah.
But the point being is, this is not what that was. And I think we have to be very careful with our verbiage as we report these types of things. So I don't want to call out Adam Schefter more than I always do. But again, I think words matter, right?
Yeah.
So I
100%.
just wanted to put that out there for people who might have seen that. And I'll
Yep.
post the link to the post also.
Yep.
Speaking of posts, we have several Social Sports Med posts this week to cover. I'm going to give credit to Jim Dunaway. Jim highlighted a friend of the program, Jeff Allen.
Hell
And
yeah.
not the Jeff Allen that we've had on the show, but a different Jeff
Different
Allen.
one. Yeah.
This Jeff Allen is, I believe he's the vice president or director of sports medicine, whatever his title might be at the University of Alabama football program. And what Jim did in his post on X was he highlighted all the players Alabama unfortunately got a little bit waxed in their bowl game for them. They've had quite the run, and they still had a great team this year. It just didn't work out for them this year at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
But you could see on TV watching it that all these players who knew it was kind of the end of their run were coming up to Jeff Allen and saying thank you and hugging him and getting a little bit emotional. And so was Jeff. Jeff's a great guy. I've had the opportunity to
Yeah.
interact with him very frequently. Almost, I don't want to say things like legend of his position of his career, but man, he's way up there in the
He's
college
up there.
ranks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very highly respected. So I just thought it was cool that Jim highlighted him and the relationship, that we always talk about between the players and the medical staff. Any commentary before we move on from that one?
Yeah, that just goes to show you how, I mean, I've met Jeff briefly as well.
Mhm.
Just a high character guy,
Sure.
really cares a lot about his guys. And anybody that's come from that program will attest to that same thing. Any players that the guys that we've had from Bama, love him, can't say enough good things about him. So, I mean, it was cool to see, unfortunate circumstance, but cool to see how close he is with the guys on that team.
Real quick, complete aside, name your favorite player from Bama you took care of.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Reggie Ragland.
Dang it, that was mine. Shout
Shout
out to
out Reg
Reggie.
if you're listening.
Reggie, well, great dude, great
We didn't have a
linebacker.
ton of Bama guys, honest. I mean,
Not with the Chiefs, no.
yeah, we didn't have a ton. So
Moving on, the one thing that I thought was really cool, the Patriots social team on Instagram, and I believe this is one of their strength coaches, but they went through the New England Patriots, excuse me, they went through the 11 different points on a road trip where players have an opportunity to eat. And I think a lot of people don't realize this that, we're going to go off of our experiences too, because as I watched the video, it was almost identical to your and I's experience. But, you get a pregame meal before you leave for the plane. You get something before you get on the plane. You get something on the plane. You get something when you get to the hotel. You get
yeah,
something at a meal at a hotel. Then there's a late night snack at the hotel. Then they wake up for the game and in the morning. And then before you go to the stadium, and then after the game, there's something at the stadium. Then you get
yeah,
to the plane again. There's something before the plane. Then there's something on the
yeah,
plane.
yeah,
A real quick comment on the plentiful
yeah.
opportunities for us to eat on road trips as sports medicine folks.
There is no missed meal opportunity.
No.
There's no chance for you to go hungry when you're traveling on a road trip. So there's,
If you
like you
do, it's your
said,
fault.
if you do, it's your fault because there are options galore. I mean, when you get on the plane, then you have an in-flight meal, then you have dessert if you
Yeah.
want dessert. I mean,
Oh,
like,
and unlimited, no less.
yeah, there's trays of candy and mixed nuts and beef jerky and vegetables and goodness
Everything,
gracious, whatever you want to drink, whether it's soda, whether it's Gatorade, whether it's water, whether it's
whatever.
you name it. It's there, and that probably is universal across the board in the NFL, I would imagine.
Yeah. And obviously they're going to mix up different types and different
Yeah,
sorts and things
yeah,
like that.
yep,
The unique thing was that I enjoyed was getting used to every stadium and what they provided on your way out. Usually it's a
yeah,
regional delicacy,
yeah,
or some form of that barbecue or cheesesteaks or pasta or
yep,
Mexican
yep,
or whatever. And every stadium kind of had their own thing. But that was always my favorite part of it because our plain meals were pretty much standardized week to week.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. Real quickly, what was your favorite plain meal or town to eat in?
Oh man, gosh, that's gonna be tough because you just go through so many. I would have to, Nashville's usually good, and I'm
Nashville was
just
always
saying
good.
I'm saying that because I was just there and it was Hattie B's.
Yeah.
Um, but probably, Philly Chicky and Pete's
Yep.
was a good one. Um, I think one of the worst ones was New York.
Why?
We had like some like turkey melt sandwich or something. I don't remember. I got sick as a dog after that one. I don't wasn't
I
a fan,
I
but
I all for a lot of times I would skip because by the time we got to the line at the end, after all the players had gone through, some of the times there was pretty slim pickings, and I would skip
Yeah.
the stadium offering if there wasn't much left, or if I did, I would eat it on the bus before you got to the plane, and then skip the
Plane.
bag
Yeah.
that you grab as you go up to the plane, and then just eat the meal on the plane. But
Yeah.
I
Yep.
I just thought that was a fun way to highlight it, and I thought the Patriots social team did a really nice job with that.
Yep.
Moving along, Taylor Decker, standout offensive lineman for the Detroit Lions. They lost. Unfortunately, they're not in the playoffs. But what he did on kind of their exit media, exit physicals type situation, he really stood up there with the reporters and he highlighted what it meant to, kind of grind as a veteran to get his body ready on a day-to-day basis. And the thing that I liked about this was not only did he talk about what he did in the building, but he talked about what he did when he got home at night. And it was mostly passive modality type stuff. However, which is, as everybody knows that listens to the program, is not our favorite. But it was interesting to hear a player take people through the process of him just being ready week to week. And I thought it was valuable insight for people who hadn't heard that type of stuff before. So credit to Taylor for standing up and talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was awesome. And that's probably pretty common amongst, the older veteran guys. A lot of them have stuff at their house. A lot of them do passive modalities in the evening when they're getting ready for bed, stuff like that. So very common, but cool to hear.
Cool insight and cool just to like kind of peel back the curtain, if you will,
Yeah.
by him. I thought
Yep.
that was nice. One social post that made the rounds this week, Ev, and we saw lots of different versions of it everywhere, was Micah Parsons, the all-world standout defensive end for the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately, a couple weeks back, he tore his ACL. He has finally had surgery, and last week he put a post up that he was 1 week out and he was doing range of motion on a bike. Our good friend Nate Weir was in the background there.
Yeah.
One of
And
the
Flea.
Flea was there too. I missed
Flea
Flea.
was in there. Yeah.
But people kind of went nuts over this, saying like, "Look how good he's doing," this and that. He's doing phenomenal. I'm not here to take
Yeah.
anything away from it.
Yeah.
I am here to educate people that this process is completely normal.
Yeah.
To begin doing these activities in an NFL or even a high level athlete anywhere, you want to get that range of motion back as soon as possible. And that actually gives us a little bit of insight that it was the injury and the surgical intervention was more on the, I don't want to say simple, but straightforward side, because
Yeah.
if you had a more extensive repair or repair of multiple structures, you wouldn't be being this aggressive with range of motion this early, right?
Yeah.
And so not only does it give us a little bit of insight, which I thought was awesome that he put out there, but it tells us to the extent of his damage. Ev, please shine a light for all the haters and moaners out there that was saying this is too aggressive, this is too quick, he's superhuman. Just give us like what's real about this situation.
It's not too aggressive. It's not too quick. My favorite part about the whole thing was going and reading the comments from
Yeah.
people who had went through the same surgery
Uh-huh.
per se. And I wasn't doing this until 3 months or 4 months. Well,
You're
my
not an
goodness, you need
all-world
to,
football player
you're not
either.
an you're not an all-world football player. And two, if you weren't, you need to find another place to do physical therapy because that's just ridiculous. So he, this is our approach with these injuries. This is my approach. This is your approach. This is just kind of how we operate in that professional sports world, or with athletes in general who are coming back from ACL repair. It's got to be aggressive with range of motion at first, which is what he was doing. So you and I have cranked on many, many a knee who did not want to bend throughout our years in the league and post league. So it's totally common. That's how it's going to be. If you walk into my place, if you're working with you, if you're an athlete that gets an ACL, that's what's going to happen. So
And I thought you and I were talking about it before we came on and started recording. I thought one of the subtle points that not a lot of people will pick up on that don't do this for a living is two things. One, his foot was taped into the pedal so he could not get away from the range of
yes,
motion.
yeah,
And then two, I like how they were stressing, if you watch the full video, that he pulls his toes back in order to achieve that full dorsiflexion to make the
yeah,
bend at the knee greater. If
yeah,
you allow your athletes or your your patients to be in plantar flexion the whole time, you won't get as much range out of your knee. So I like
No.
excuse me. I liked that little tidbit. Anybody who has done this knows those first couple of turns for the first time are pretty agonizing.
Oh yeah.
And I like how they had him on a recumbent bike because then you can just move him forward as the session goes on and he
Yeah.
loosens up and he can get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So I really thought that was cool insight. Shout out to the Green Bay Packers medical staff, by the way.
Yep. Good job, guys.
Speaking of good job, Ev. Our friends at Cookie Society are doing it again. Jeff and Marissa Allen, the other Jeff Allen, down in Frisco, Texas, are they're going crazy. We are partners, friends, relationship with the Cookie Society. For anybody in the new year, listen, we're here for the New Year's resolutions, but sometimes you just got to be able to give
Sometimes you
yourself a
gotta,
treat, right?
yeah, yeah.
It might be the playoffs. It might be the winter basketball season that you're trying to get through. Wrestlers need to pack on a pound or two. Um, listen, Cookie Society is here to help you with that in your
Oh
athletic
yeah.
training rooms and PT clinics. They are out with some new seasonal flavors that we'd like to talk about. My personal favorite, Ev, I don't know if you've seen this, is the lemon pound cake. I'm
Ooh,
going to have
man.
to get on lemon pound cake. It is
Yes.
iced as well. It looks fantastic. I'm looking at it now. They also have seasonally some Rice Krispie treats cookies,
Oh
which I'm going to have
man.
to get on that one, and cookie butter. I don't know that I've seen that flavor from them
I
before,
haven't
but
either. Yeah.
good news for our listeners. Sports Med Bros 10, all one word, Sports Med Bros and the number 10 get you a discount on your entire order. Please go visit our friends at Cookie Society, cookiesociety.com. Or if you're in the DFW area, I believe they now have 5 retail
Man,
locations. So,
growing like crazy.
doggone, man.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
it is.
I'm going to get my hands on those lemon pound cake ones for sure.
That
But
does
go
sound
visit
good.
our friends. This week we have no suitable submissions to the mail hole that we wanted to get out there just yet because I, quite frankly, was a little late on checking them after the holidays. They were all time dated and not appropriate at this point in time because we know the
Yeah.
answers to all the questions. But what I wanted to do instead of is I wanted to get a segment of the week here about the NFL playoffs. It is Saturday morning at Central at 10:30, so they're about to kick off this
Yeah. Pretty
afternoon.
soon
But
here. Yeah.
I have been to a lot of playoff games. You have been to that many more. Why don't you give the people what they're looking for and give a little bit of insight about what medical staffs do after the season is over to be ready for the playoff run?
Yeah. Nothing really changes from your preparation standpoint in terms of, what goes on a day-to-day basis to a week-to-week basis. Your focus is obviously make everybody as available as possible. So whatever you got to do, the hours may be a little bit longer. You may get up a little bit earlier to treat guys, making sure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed with all your rehabs of whoever you're taking care of, because, you're at a point in the season now where guys want to play, they
Yeah.
want to be available. So you got to change, maybe you're not doing as aggressive as functional rehab with somebody as you would be, just because you don't want to overdo it with them. You don't want to load them up with too much volume to the point where they're going to struggle in the game on Sunday or Saturday or whatever day you're playing on, or Monday now. So it's a little bit of a balancing act in terms of, okay, let's focus more on maybe some mobility, flexibility rather than strength or functional activity before and after practice. So it's a balancing act there. Everything's ramped up in the playoffs, right? It's faster, gets faster every week. Guys want it more, every play matters. You have to account for those things too. Like, we're not just going in to play the game and, oh, this is a 7 seed. No, everything matters. So it's amped up a little bit more. Every week's another chance. It's different. It's faster. Coach Reed always says every week's faster, right? It ratchets up every week. So it's a fun time of the year. If you lose, obviously that's it. So you're doing exit physicals the next day and your season's over. If not, then you got another week. So we always try to keep it as similar as possible. Like, you don't change anything once you get to the playoffs. Practice is the same. you try to keep guys in the same routine as much as possible. So,
Yep. I think one of the things that, and you and I were together for a lot of playoff games, but I think one of the things that always struck me is, the game is always the thing, right?
yeah,
In the
yeah,
regular season. But in the postseason, the game is even more of the thing.
yeah,
Do you want guys to practice? Yes. Do you have to, have those concepts ingrained?
yeah,
But, everything is about the game. It's no longer about Wednesday and Thursday practice. If they can
yeah,
practice, great. But guess what? That game on Saturday or Sunday, or like you said, even now Monday, is the thing, right? And so if they can do a partial practice, a lighter version of it, fantastic. If they can't, guess what? They're still going on
yeah,
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever the game is played. So I thought
yeah,
that was always like you had to keep in mind that, the frame kind of switches a little bit
yeah,
to the thing. And the other thing is about it is there, to your point, there's no tomorrow, right? So it's all
yeah,
hands on deck. You're doing things during halftime, and if you have to take a guy into the locker room or whatever, you're
yeah,
doing things that you might not do during the regular season, right?
yeah,
Because if you have a strain or something early on in the game, you're working through halftime to try to get that guy back because you might need him.
yeah,
Whereas in the regular season, you might just be like, okay, look, we're shutting this down.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
that aspect of things, like you say, you don't prepare any differently from a packing or a weekly schedule or stuff like that standpoint. But what you do is you kind of almost reprioritize,
yeah,
and that kind of thing. And so I appreciate your insight there.
yeah,
A lot of people don't realize how fast the game is at large in general,
yeah,
especially when you're standing on that sideline. And I think your point about how fast the playoffs get is really well made because my goodness, everything, the O-line play, the D-line get-offs, the
yeah,
wide receivers, the running back hitting the hole, everything just happens a split second quicker. And
yeah,
it's not really one of those things that you can appreciate until you see it in person right in front of your eyes.
yeah, 100%,
So
100%.
we're going to be watching the playoffs, obviously, with a lot of excitement to see what there's going on the injury front. But good insight right there, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
The other insight that I'm going to ask you for this week, real briefly, is you and I have been investigating some products,
Yeah.
and we had a conversation this week ongoing in the group chat about a product that you were interested in that you've been using lately. Go ahead, give us some insight.
Yeah, so I've been looking for a BFR unit, a blood flow restriction unit, and I chimed into you guys to see what you have been using. Obviously, you use a different brand that we've highlighted on here before, but I was looking more into um, smart cuffs, which
Mhm.
are a Bluetooth. They have Bluetooth and they have the hose connection BFR unit. I have the Bluetooth unit, the smart cuffs 4.0, and I was really impressed. I got them yesterday, actually. Really impressed with the product. I have the leg bands. They both have little units built into them that hook to your phone.
Mhm.
You can run them, calibrate them off your phone. Very easy to set up, very easy to use, very accurate. You can set they calibrate and then you can set the occlusion pressure percentage at whatever you want, and then go from there. And it records, it tracks all your exercise sessions. It has a timer on it. So I was really, really impressed. Smart cuffs, never used these ones. I've used the older versions in Kansas City, but these are the newer Bluetooth versions. So really impressed with the product. Looking forward to getting into it and getting to use it with some of my people, and I'm excited about it. So shout out to Smart Cuffs. Very good stuff. Looking forward to diving in and getting to use those things.
Yeah, when I was shopping for blood flow restriction items for my own personal and athlete client usage, the ones that you have now were not available,
Yeah.
and they're pretty cool looking device. I think there's lots of advantages to the device. I think obviously portability being one of the greatest advantages.
Yeah.
So for if you're in an environment where you don't have the ability to lug around a bigger, heavier unit or you're traveling a lot. I think this is a fantastic option. I think it's one of those things where, more technology in this case isn't a bad thing. And
Yeah.
the Bluetooth option, especially if you're having an athlete that is very dynamic in space that you're using this for, or they might be running, or they might be just doing, whatever creativity and rehab-based exercise that you can come up with. This is an amazing option
Yeah.
to not be wired into something, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I really like it for that. I like the fact that it's on your phone and you have the data right there. That's cool. So I think it's a really intriguing option, and I appreciated you bringing it to the table this week for discussing it. I'm assuming, and I'll post the website and the link to the show, but
Yeah.
Smart Cuffs, we applaud you. Good product.
Yeah.
So there's that. We're going to land this ship as we do every week, Ev, with a little bit of free time. Obviously, people don't need to know what you're doing with your free time. You are locked in to your Indiana Hoosiers. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you're going to be scouring every bit of news. I'm sure that's it. But what else do you have going on?
No, yeah, we'll be locked into that. Just really got nothing going on, honestly. Hanging out with the kids. The weather's actually somewhat mild here for January, so
Will the fish
we
bite behind you there this week?
haven't been out there since probably September. So I doubt they are. I doubt they are, but it's not frozen, so
There you go.
that's a good thing. But yeah, we're hanging out. I'm going to dig into a little bit of. I'm going to do some ticket pricing for the national championship. So
No,
that might be
no.
that might be an option. We'll
You
see.
better call in some favors for that. I saw some ticket
That's what
prices.
Miranda said this morning. She goes, how do you have all these connections and you can't get tickets to the Natty? I was like, well,
Wow.
it's not an easy ticket there, dear.
I
So
saw the nosebleed of nosebleeds were going for like 3,500
yeah,
this morning.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll expect to see you on the sideline across the field from Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis, since they seem to be on every camera shot ever.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
But listen, my kids are older than you. We've got a wrestling tournament tomorrow. I am turning over the children's rooms this weekend they both have bunk beds right now. My son, who's 14 and is huge, or about to be 14, excuse me.
Gosh,
Uh, yeah, right. He wants a full-size bed because he's outgrown his bunk bed. And so
yeah,
my daughter wants his bunk bed. So I'm taking down her bunk bed that I built and painted. So that was a little hit on the ego, but
yeah,
so that's happening today and tomorrow, and all while a wrestling tournament. Oh, and probably had the football on in the background. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
about as exciting as our weekend gets. So,
Excellent.
well, hey, listen, it's a great time to land the plane. We've been rambling for 47 minutes
Yeah,
and change here. Everybody, thank you so much for listening in. We're glad to be back in 2026. We have some exciting guests lined up, mostly for the month of February. We're going to be bringing those to you. We're going to be teasing all of our live shows, our event visits, and you got to go check out the new YouTube channel once I get it up and running and get this video posted.
yeah,
But please don't share with one friend, share with two friends, tell people so we can get more feedback. Hit us up at the mail hole, the sportsmedbros@gmail.com. Reach out to us on Instagram or X or wherever you want to see us and give us some feedback. Let us know.
yeah.
And we appreciate everybody. Ev, any parting thoughts this week?
No, go Hoosiers, man. We'll see you guys next week.
We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you.